Hey everyone, welcome to episode 40 of What's Flying. I'm your host, Victor Dweck.
I am Mark Herman.
For those who don't know, the premise of the show is Mark and I really don't know what's flying. We have no idea what's going on in the world. And
No
sure,
clue.
there's ChatGPT, there's research, there's Google, but all that takes time. It takes time. And so we figure rather than do all that, let's just bring someone on and try and get to the bottom of it that way. So with all that being said, Mark, tell people, just to give you some action, Mark, because I've been talking most of the time, you could tell people how to find us on Patreon.
Yeah, check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/whatsflying. You can also follow us on Instagram @whatsflying.
So let's talk about today's guest, Little League. It's in the culture right now. For those who are paying attention, yes, there's a lot of action in politics and people are talking about the playoffs and basketball and all sorts of things. But what people really care about, though, is Little League, especially if you're a parent. Mm-hmm. And Little League is not an easy time. For a lot of people go through struggles. I know a lot of parents that, my kid's not athletic or my kid's very athletic. Well, I just so happen to know a guy that actually had some trauma in Little League. And this was an issue that he faced. He still faces it possibly into adulthood. We're not exactly sure. But he went through some trauma in Little League. And we said, this is going to be the guy, the face of Little League issue recovery. So let's talk to him and figure out what's flying. Edmond, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Vic. Thanks so much for having me.
How do you feel? Is this an opportunity that you're finally able to get this off your chest, or you've spoken to therapists, spoken to people?
I've moved on. I've since moved on, but yeah, we had some trauma going back to the early Little League days.
So, Edmond, why don't you break it down? Just give us a quick summary of sort of what you experienced, and just to close the door in case a lot of people are wondering from now, was it sexual in nature? Was there something going on with the coach, or was it not that? Just so we could figure that out from now.
No, we may as well clear the air from right now. There was no sexual misconduct whatsoever. The trauma stems from, just not being good enough to make the big leagues in Little League.
So there's like AAA level Little League, and then there's the majors, minor. Obviously they're all minors because it's Little League, but
believe it or not, they have a kind of like an A league and a B league, right? And I guess when I went to Ocean Township High School for the tryout and audition, I wasn't throwing the ball hard enough at the early age there for Little League, so I got put in the minors, and all my friends were in the majors.
So you try out in the high school. Was that distracting? Were there kids bullying you? High schoolers, mean kids saying, oh, there's the kid who can't hit. Was there psychological? Why do you think you didn't perform well? Were you a nerd?
One, it wasn't my home base. I went to a private school. I wasn't used to those areas, to that specific high school. But I don't know that that's the reason. Usually you play baseball on a field. I thought it was kind of strange to have tryouts in an indoor gymnasium for baseball, but that was the selected venue.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Are you saying that you were so good at baseball that it threw you off being in the gymnasium? You needed a field? Are you blaming that?
Yeah, when you hit the ball, you hit it on a field. There's a fence, right? In a gym, it's kind of hard to display that type of skill, and how, I guess, you can throw the ball from a mound if there is no mound, right? You were kind of just throwing from a piece of tape on the floorboards within the gymnasium that was really set up for basketball.
So you were saying that the gym threw you off. If there's a college coach or a Major League Baseball coach possibly listening to this, a lot of them actually nowadays, I see they actually do practice in gymnasiums. Would you give them that feedback now on a professional level, move away from the gym?
Off season, the kids got to work out. But yeah, I would say if you want to really see their skill and you want to put them to the test, you should probably play where the game is played, right?
No, I'm saying at the major league level.
At the major league level.
Yeah, would you be giving that advice now if there's a coach or someone in college, or would you go on the record as saying you may be stifling the growth?
I mean, we're talking about Little League here. I think they know what they're doing at the college and the major league level, but I would probably have that conversation with them. I don't know that I would tell them what to do.
But it's a conversation you'd be willing to have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got to play on the field.
So you walk in, run us through that moment. How old are you? Are you 3? Are you 4?
How little is this Little League?
Yeah, how little is
question. That's actually a really good question. I want to say that it begins, I imagine you're probably 10, 11 years old. Little League is, 9, 10. You probably start playing Little League. Definitely played 12, 13, that sort of age. But
so 9, 10, and you walk in. Now, I just want to say, for those watching this new incredible video version of the podcast.
It's incredible.
Yeah, you're a man of great strength. You're more of a husky individual. Back in the day, you want the bigger guy on your team because he looks like the slugger. So did you put some people on edge maybe? Maybe they gave you a harder time. Maybe they threw you faster pitches because they thought you were good.
Yeah, I mean, you had to show that you could outperform everybody else, but I don't know that I was as tall when I was young.
Okay.
I was the shorter, fat kid. Could have held me back. Who knows? But you walk into this gym, you have a guy is sitting on the chair backwards because he may or may not fit on the chair, just kind of lofting pitches to you, and trying to see, can you connect with the ball? If you could connect with the ball and you hit it hard enough, does he want to maybe give you a chance to play on the Red Sox or the Tigers or the Yankees, right? You have all these
Now,
different...
these are, sorry to interrupt, these are Little League teams. They're not tied to the major organizations.
No, these are Ocean Township Little League teams.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's not a version of the Red Sox. You weren't trying out for the actual Red Sox.
No, I wasn't trying out for the actual Red Sox.
They just paid for the name. So my question, was there any sort of hypnosis involved perhaps with trying to get one of the kids to retrieve a pistol and kill the queen?
I don't recall hypnosis.
I don't even know. What is that? What's that?
Talk about what's flying.
Yeah, well,
what's flying. Someone.
I'm sorry. All I know,
high.
all I know about baseball is the Naked Gun movie, and I believe that's the plot of the Naked Gun movie. So that's okay. Someone will get that.
I don't think I've ever seen that movie.
There's 3 of them, and they are fantastic.
Oh, okay.
And they're about to make a new one and ruin it, as is tradition.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
Horrible.
So, Edmond, you're in there, and there's a guy on a chair, and he's lofting balls at you. And what's going through your mind? Run us through that 9, 10 years old. You've seen the balls flying. Are you swinging and missing? Are you nervous? What's happening?
You're trying to hit the ball as hard as you can hit the ball. That's what's happening. That's what you got to do. Balls are flying at you, and you got to hit them. You got to hit them back at the wall.
Do you hit the ball?
Yeah, I think I made some good contact, maybe a couple swing and misses. They have a machine that's set up. It's got like 2 wheels that just go, round and round. They put the little ball right in between the 2 spinning wheels, and it kind of comes at you. I don't know, at that time maybe 30, 40 miles an hour.
Wow.
Those are fast balls.
Yeah, that could kill someone.
Good.
If it was a car.
Straight, like I've heard of kids in Little League catching a pitch in their chest at like just in between heartbeats or whatever. If you get it at the exact millisecond, it could stop the heart. Did that ever happen to you?
No, never happened.
You're not dead.
Yeah,
okay.
Thankfully, I'm here.
All right,
and,
good.
that never happened.
Okay. I'm just this technology we could communicate, with ghosts sometimes. It's weird.
So Edmond, you perform. And what happens? Tell us about that terrible moment in your life that scarred you. We'll get into the trauma and your recovery, but tell us what happens where you find out you didn't make the A team.
Yeah, Vic, so I guess it just wasn't my best day. I don't know if it was the gymnasium that threw me off. I don't know if it was playing baseball on a basketball court. Wasn't my best day out there. Gave it my all, and I guess the coaches didn't like what they saw, so they sent me to the minors. And then I had to go home and tell my parents. I'm in the minors. I didn't make the majors. I want to be in the majors. All my friends are in the majors.
Did you think to yourself, this could affect my relationship with my parents? They're going to lose respect for me. Did you think your siblings maybe, were you concerned about family life after that?
I think I was more concerned about playing with my friends more so than family life. I was a little kid, man. I was upset that I didn't,
Right.
They told me I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough to play with the rest of the kids.
Did they get into specifics? Your launch velocity, the flight launch angle, the speed? Or they didn't get into that? There were no sabermetrics.
They really didn't get into the specifics. They just gave you, an assignment. You had to show up and go to that league. And I went. I played a few games for the Red Sox in the minors, and eventually they moved me up to the majors.
Wow.
So let's talk a little bit about this B League. Were these like the rejects? Were these kids smoking, drinking, parents, alcoholics?
I don't think they were as good as the A-League kids. I got to tell you, I don't think we were making the plays as clean as they were in the A-Leagues. I think that some of the pitchers were probably not as good or throwing the ball as hard as.
But were they bad kids? They come from broken homes?
Leather jackets, smoking cigarettes with their hair slicked back.
I don't remember anyone smoking cigarettes. You had some parents that would get rowdy in the stands, but for the most part, it was just more of like we weren't as talented,
Okay.
So
I feel that.
Was there a part of you that thought, well, I made the B League on the men's team, maybe I could try out for the women's A League?
At that time, I don't think the transgender fad was around. We just went out there to play baseball, play little league ball.
But if it was today, it would possibly cross your mind.
I don't think it would. No,
You don't think it would?
I don't think it would. But I know that's more prevalent today than it was when I was 9 to 13 years old.
Right.
Collecting my pretzel and a drink after I played little league baseball.
Were the snacks downgraded for the B team? Was the field, the setup of the field not as good? A lot of times the A team, you get access to Big League Chew, you get access to certain treats on the field.
It's a great question. So now I think I'm starting to remember that we had some different amenities.
Wow.
Right? Wow. The field was the B League field, right? If you weren't in the A League, you didn't get to play on the premier field that was right next to the snack stand. Right, where you could go enjoy your Fanta or probably your hot pretzel was being served.
Wow. They only had cold pretzels for the B League. Sure.
I don't think they were as hot in the B League.
Were they super pretzels or just regular generic pretzels?
No, they were the good stuff. $18 every season. Nice. You had to pay at the beginning of the season to be able to be one of the kids that can get a soda, fountain soda, and a one of those big super pretzels with the salt on it after the game.
Were you able to afford this, the $18?
At that time, I was fortunate enough to be able to get the subscription for unlimited pretzel soda after every game that we played. So we paid the $18.
Are you saying that later in life you weren't as fortunate, your family went through a tough time?
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Okay. That's what it sounded like. Sounded like you were saying you fell on hard times.
Look, we paid the $18. You asked me if we paid the $18. At that time, we paid the $18.
So you were saying you eventually made it to the A team, but trauma can stay with you, of course. When we spoke offline, you had mentioned this it lingered into adulthood even. So tell us a little bit about, if there's someone listening and their kid may get rejected, tell us about how the trauma lingered into adulthood or your later teenage years, maybe problems with women, confidence issues, erectile technicalities. Tell me a little about that and how you ultimately overcame it.
Oh, boy. I'm not sure I see the correlation there, Victor. But I think I always think back to just why didn't they think I was good enough, Like when you say it lingered, I guess that's the only lingering thing. I didn't make the first impression, right?
Right.
Obviously, they sent me to the B League. Whatever I did in that gym, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for whoever was was coaching that day. So, I guess I just think back to that moment and say, what could I have done better? And what I would say is that that's life. The more failure, the more success. That's, I think, what the kids should take away from this episode. And really what the message is that just because you didn't make the A-Leagues from day one doesn't mean you're not going to make the A-Leagues in the long run. And I think, frankly, in my lifetime, what I've seen is the more you fall on your face, the better off you become. And I think that is the silver lining, Mark. I do.
I am a parent myself, and that's something that I do tell my child is that you have to have bad times to truly appreciate the good times. So
that's why you punish him systematically.
Yeah, and then I tell him, "You are my
son
for
no reason. You
and
just
you will never
listen,
be my
son. If you want to really appreciate life, you're gonna have to spend the next week in the basement."
Right.
Yeah, and we don't even have a basement. I made him dig one. It was crazy, but he did it. Fully finished, too. I was very impressed with his woodworking skills.
Edmond, I do want to just clarify for you and the listeners, this is not a children's show. We're not sure if the kids, so to speak, are listening and taking lessons. But,
they should not.
But if their parents should let them listen. So you overcame this into adulthood. Was there help? Was there therapy, psychotherapy, medication?
Electroshock therapy.
No.
Was there some therapy? No.
No.
Did
No
it linger
therapy.
to the point, a lot of times when people go through trauma and they try to date, they bring up past relationships or issues? Was there a point in your life where when you were trying to meet someone, you said, I should tell you about the time I was, if they would only put me on that damn Little League team. And
everything would be different.
Yeah, my whole life would be different.
I don't think I've ever had that conversation with anybody, but maybe someday I will. Maybe someday I'll find a way to incorporate that traumatic experience into a conversation. I don't think I've done that.
Now, once you make it to the 8 team, what's life like? Are you flying? Did it go to your head, Edmond? Did it go to your head?
That's a good question. That's a great question. So once you make
Mark's
it to
impressed.
once you make it to the A-Leagues, now we're talking. Now you got a guy, I forget what his name was. There was, one of the best pitchers in the league. He's throwing 65. He's throwing sliders.
Wow.
You got kids on your team that can actually hit the ball over the fence. I remember a kid, Jamie on my team. He was hitting the ball pretty consistently over the fence. Went from the Red Sox to the Angels at the time. And I think
there's a trading block.
Well, they were just different teams. You have different names for different teams. So there might be.
But I'm saying he moved, like he got a contract. He moved from the Angels to the Red Sox.
No,
Red Sox
I
to
went
the Angels?
from the Red Sox in the B League to they put me in the A League.
Oh, I thought
Angels.
the kid Jamie. I thought you were talking about Jamie.
Okay.
No, I was just talking to you guys about like how it worked, about your question, going back to your question, like what was it like now in the A League? So you get up there and the pace of play is a little bit faster. It's a little bit more competitive. You have pitchers throwing harder. You have kids hitting the ball further.
Did you get attention? Did people start paying more attention to you?
Yeah.
I don't think I got more attention. I think I got to hone my skills to play, a specific position, but I don't think it increased my popularity at all at the time.
Well, it's got to be dangerous because, with rock bands, there's a lot of groupies. And so I'd assume with Little League, there are a bunch of girls coming up to you after the game trying to hook up. And
I don't think there was any sexual activity, gentlemen. I don't
Right.
We were 9 to 13 years old. We just really kept it on the field at those times.
So, Edmond, are you a father now?
Not yet. I'm not a father just yet.
Are you already starting to think about how you'll raise your child, considering that he or she, now they have female softball leagues, may go through this? Are you going to put them in training from the moment they're born, like one of these famous tennis players or something where they train them at birth? Are you going to make sure they don't need to go through this? Or would you say this was ultimately good for you? It made you the man you are today?
That's a really good question. I think, God willing, should I be, in that position, I would probably do my best to coach them up and put them in a position to make the A League. But I think if they made the B League, I would recognize and be able to connect with them on that story and say, it's not the end of the world. So I don't think I would require a path or design a specific path. I would probably do my best to make him or her as good as I possibly can, and we would take it from there.
Would you go so far as to say in public now that if there's a parent listening to this whose child is struggling in Little League, that they can set up an appointment with you, maybe counseling or maybe something of this sort? You would make yourself available? Do you have that kind of time?
I don't really have that kind of time, but if there's somebody that feels that it needs that much attention, and their kid is really struggling with, the transition from the B League to the A League, so on and so forth, I might be able to carve out some time on a weekend.
Sounds reasonable.
Now,
I played
kickball.
kickball.
What'd you say?
I played kickball. I just unlocked that memory.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was very traumatic for me as well. I got kicked a lot. They
the
would
balls,
accidentally kick the ball at my face.
We should bring up a kickball coach or a kickball expert on the show. I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, I do too.
So we're coming up on time, but obviously mental health is a big topic discussion nowadays. Were there any thoughts of suicide, taking your own life, when you found out about the B League?
I don't think I knew what, I don't even think I was that developed where I knew what suicide was, or that you could, God forbid, a million times take your own life. So no, I don't think I had any thoughts from being sent to the B Leagues and Little League at a young age about, potentially offing myself. But I do remember being disappointed. I do remember, I had to go home, and I was in the B League, and
so what you're saying
knew.
is suicidal thoughts, but you didn't know what to call them.
Yeah,
I didn't know how to channel them. Maybe if I knew what suicide was at that age, I might have, said, "Oh my God, what did I do? I didn't make the A League. What am I going to do with myself?" But I just don't think I was that developed. I think that suicide was probably, at 10 years old, just a foreign concept to me. I didn't go home after the game and, start running to find carbon monoxide or something like that. I was 10 years old.
Right. And we should just say that if there is anyone out there who does have a trouble or anything like that, to call the suicide prevention hotline. That number is 988. You can access it on any phone.
Wow.
So, all right, Edmond, this has been fantastic. Maybe we can have you back mid-season where we can have some call-ins. Maybe Mark could set that up on the technical side. Some call-ins maybe from concerned parents.
That would be excellent. I'd love to answer any questions for the young ones that could be experiencing trauma in Little League.
And just to wrap it up, of course, to put a happy bow on this episode.
Yeah, now that we're done talking
are
about preteen suicide.
Yeah, you
are sad episode.
No snacks.
You're all good now, right? You're in a good place.
Yeah, thank God. I've never been happier, healthier, and like Mark and I were kind of saying earlier, I think the silver lining is you got to fail to succeed. That's just part of the game of life.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into today's episode. That's going to do it for us today. Mark, why don't you take us home?
Yeah, Ed, thank you so much for joining us. And
right, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Take care. That's going to do it for us today.
Come back tomorrow. Got another brand new episode for you, Monday through Friday, 5 a.m., wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram @What's Flying, patreon.com/What's Flying. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.